Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, two of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, and two of the best quarterbacks from the 2000s into the 2010s. These two had a massive rivalry between their teams during this 15-year gap between them as players, and also this caused a massive debate in the NFL community between the two, as Peyton statistically during this time was the better QB, but Brady won more Super Bowls. So the argument is, who was better? And was Brady better because he had more Super Bowls, or did he win more because he had more talent around him? Better defenses overall than Peyton and such? So I've always wondered, what if we flipped their teams? So starting in 2000, Peyton is a Patriot and Brady is a Colt. What would happen for the teams? Would they do better? Would both players do better? Or do worse or whatever? It would be interesting to see. And I've been working on this video since like back in October of 2023. And now, April 2025, I'm finally putting the work into it now. I'm going to try and get this video done once and for all. And finally start getting back into some NFL theories. So, the long wait is over. It's now time to finally begin this long ass video that's been long overdue. What if Peyton and Brady swap teams? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if? An NFL theory. Before we begin though, I wanted to explain how this theory is going to work. So, this theory will take place between 2000 and 2015, when Peyton of course played. Although Brady continues on afterwards, we're going to wrap up here when Peyton retires. Now, for whatever reason, they're just going to swap teams. Think of whatever you will of it. But they're going to be the starters starting from now on, barring the injuries they would face. Sorry, Bledsoe, you're at the backup Peyton for the next 2 years. But yeah, that's how this series is going to go. And I'm going to have it tracked down at the end, ranking how many wins they got, like playoff appearances, Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl wins and all that. And we'll see how it goes. So, let's get this started. How will the Patriots do with Peyton, and how will the Colts do with Brady? So, the 2000 season begins, and with this magical change, Peyton, after 2 years with the Colts, is now all of a sudden the Patriots starter. And of course, they will be playing each other twice a year since they were division rivals in the AFC East. They will be seeing each other first time in October and all that. So how will the Patriots do with Peyton this timeline instead of Drew Bledsoe's starter? Well, Peyton had an incredible year in 2000, and a really good year. But the Patriots, remember, struggled that year. They went 5-11, their first losing season since 1995, and of course it would be their last losing season since 2020. So Peyton would play very good, but the Patriots are still a very bad team overall. So they're held back a bit, they hold Peyton back a bit, and they ended up finishing 9-7, which is an improvement from their 8-8 record the previous year. Now, the Colts, on the other hand, with their new rookie starting quarterback Brady, the year before they went 13-3 and looked like they could be a Super Bowl contender. Now, of course, I wasn't exactly sure how I would go with this. Do I go with like Brady's like rookie stats, which he didn't really play at all by and large in 2000, or do I go by his overall stats? I wasn't so sure how I was going to deal with this one. So I think I did like a little bit of in between, because he was kind of like a game manager for the first part of his career. And because of that, the Colts would actually struggle without Peyton, as they would finish 8-8 and not get their first win season since 1998. So now in the updated 2000 stand-ins, in the AFC, the Broncos actually move up due to tiebreakers to take the number 2 seed over the Raiders, as the Patriots actually win the division going 9-7. As the Raiders fell down to the 4th seed, the Ravens fall to the 5th seed, and the Steelers actually make the playoffs as the 6th seed. And in the first game of the wild card, it would be the Steelers visiting the Patriots in their first division home playoff game as well since 1997. The Patriots, however, were going to struggle. They're not a good team. Peyton played good in the wild card game that year against the Dolphins, but that's not going to be good enough to beat a pretty good Steelers team this year. So the Steelers would go on to win it, and in the end, nothing else changes the rest of the playoffs. So first year in, Patriots make the playoffs and the Colts miss them. Good start for Peyton with the Patriots. And now we're into the 2001 season. After making the playoffs the previous year, the Patriots hope to do good in their second year with Peyton. Now, of course, the Patriots, as we know, made the Super Bowl this year and Brady made his debut. He was a game manager, the team played really good. But Peyton this year, he threw more touchdowns, but he threw a lot of interceptions. I think he led the league in interceptions that year. He played a lot like how he did in his rookie year. So unfortunately, that's going to really hurt the Patriots as they actually regress to 8-8, their first non-win season since 1999. Meanwhile, for Brady and the Colts, he actually has his game manager year, and he played good. But of course, remember, the Colts are not that really good this year. Not having Peyton for all those interceptions is good, but they still had the worst defense in the league. They didn't have Edger and James. Like, the team was in a little bit of a trouble and all that. But despite that, the team actually will improve to 9-7 thanks to not having all those turnovers. So now in the updated 2001 standings, the Dolphins move up to the number 2 seed and win the AFC East. The Ravens move up to the 4th seed, the Jets move up to the 5th seed, and the Colts will now make the playoffs as the 6th seed, and their first playoff appearance with Brady. And for the wild card, the Raiders will now host the Colts as Brady makes his first playoff debut in the Colts' first playoff game in 2 years. Now, of course, the Colts are still not very good. Brady's still a game manager, and the Raiders did beat the Colts earlier in the year. So I think the Raiders would beat the Colts once again. And with the Patriots out of the way, the Super Bowl this time is now the Rams and the Steelers. What an interesting game this would be, as the Rams would now have to go up against the number 1 defense in the league, which will not be fun. Hey, number 1 offense and defense go after each other. That's going to be tough, but the one advantage is they don't trust the Steelers offense nor Cordell Stewart, whereas Brady did his job against them. So this time around, I think the Rams would actually get it. Then we get to 2002, and I'm already showing the stands right now because Peyton and Brady pretty much played exactly how the same stats compared to each other in 2002. And their games were largely the same as well, I think, when I looked it up. So, in the end, there's no change. The Colts still finished 10-6, the Patriots still finished 9-7, and the Colts will still make the playoffs as a wildcard team, and the Patriots will miss the playoffs. Now, of course, as I mentioned before in theories about 2002, Bill Belichick said before, Brady had an injury throughout a lot of 2002, and if they did make the playoffs in the wildcard round, he would not have been able to play in the wildcard round. So he would not play in this game, but of course, that would be a good reason why they would still lose to the Jets in this timeline. They have their valid excuse. But in 2002, nothing changes. We now get to the season that caused me a little bit of an issue and a big reason why this video was delayed a lot, and that's 2003, covering this year. So of course, the Peyton-led Patriots, Peyton was an MVP, he had a really good year and all, he was much better than Brady, but despite that, in a very weird twist, the Patriots would actually do worse with Peyton than they would with Brady, because the games that the Patriots needed to win, Peyton didn't play as good as Brady did in these games. It's a very odd thing that happened. So instead of going 14-2, they would actually go 11-5 in this scenario. Now the Colts with Brady, they would be suffering too, as Brady was barely like a game manager in 2003. Good year, but nothing really impressive compared to Peyton. But of course, the Colts needed Peyton's MVP season to have any sort of relevancy. And that's going to bite them as they would regress to 9-7 instead of proving to 12-4. And now in the updated 2003 stands, in the AFC, the Chiefs now move up to the number 1 seed. As the Titans win the division, they move up to the number 2 seed. The Patriots fall down to the 3rd seed. The Broncos move up to the 5th seed. And the Dolphins actually make the playoffs to the 6th seed. So now we put our focus on the Patriots, making their first playoff appearance since 2000, as they would host the Dolphins. And Peyton in the playoffs, for most of the playoffs, he freaking cooked. in the playoffs. And he would do so here as the Patriots would beat the Dolphins to give Peyton his first playoff victory as a Patriot, which will then set him up at the Titans. Now remember, the Patriots and Titans did play each other in the playoffs in the divisional round that year. The Patriots won it at home 17-14, a very close game. Now, of course, Brady played like a game manager in that game. Didn't really do much. It was mostly the Patriots defense that got the win. But remember, now the Patriots have Peyton. And remember, Peyton cooked that week 2 against the Chiefs. So this time around, the Patriots go down to Nashville and they will beat the Titans to make the AFC Championship for the first time since 1996. And the AFC Championship is now the Patriots visiting the Chiefs. And oh boy, what an interesting game this would be. The Colts in real life beat the Chiefs in the divisional round in a high-scoring game where there was no punts. Now they're going to have to deal with Peyton coming into town, and they're going to have to deal with the number 1 defense against their number 1 offense. This would be a very interesting game, but with Peyton, of course, here once again, and now the Chiefs got to deal with that really tough Patriots defense, I think the Patriots would get the win, and they are now in the Super Bowl for the first time since 1996, where they will play the Panthers, the exact match we had in real life, but of course it's going to be different somewhat now because Peyton is the QB and not Brady. And here is where one of the big problems with this theory happened for a long time without it being delayed. I couldn't decide who would win this game, because normally when I do my picks on who I think will win, I usually compare the QB's stats of this game compared to who's replacing them, and then average out how they did that year and such. And this was a tough one, because Brady had an unbelievable game. 3 touchdowns. He had his best game of the season, and the Patriots held on to win 32-29. Now, when I put Peyton's average stats in 2003 in this game, since he didn't play, his average stats just was by and large not enough to get the win, because he got 29 touchdowns in 2003. That means he threw 1 touchdown with slightly over around 80% chance of throwing a second touchdown. That averaged out is not enough. You need at least 3 to beat the Panthers. So if I went by the average, the Panthers actually would win this time around, even with the better QB with Peyton. But that kept bugging me, like, that's true, but Peyton should be just as good enough as Brady in this game. And outside of playing against the Patriots in the AFC Championship that year, he was cooking in the playoffs. So it made me feel like really weird and not feel comfortable saying the Panthers should just win because of that stats. So I had to really think about this one. And that's when I finally decide that I think Peyton could do the exact results as Brady did. And because of that, the Patriots would still win the Super Bowl, and they now have their first title. They have 1 less title overall, though, with Brady. But hey, they got their first one with Peyton, as he got his first title, as Brady is still waiting for his first after he got his second one already in real life. And now we're into 2004, as Peyton and the Patriots are looking to try and defend their title. And what a perfect time it would be for them to have Peyton, as Peyton was the better quarterback than Brady this year, once again. And he balled out with his MVP season, where he put up 49 touchdowns, which broke the touchdown record that Marino set 20 years earlier. And because of this, the Patriots with Peyton would explode and go 15-1, top in the AFC. Meanwhile, Brady with the Colts, he would play better than he did in 2003, but it was nowhere near as good as Peyton was that year. But despite that, despite massively underperforming compared to Peyton, he would still do enough for the Colts to still do pretty good. They would improve to 11-5. So now in the updated 2004 stands, quickly in the NFC, the Vikings would move up to the 5th seed as the Rams would fall to the 6th seed. But in the AFC, oh boy, a lot would potentially change, as the Patriots now are the number 1 seed, as the Steelers fall to the number 2 seed. The Chargers move up to the 3rd seed, as the Colts fall to the 4th seed. The Jets stay where they are, but the Jaguars will now make the playoffs as the 6th seed. So we begin in the wild card with the Colts hosting the Jets. The Colts' first playoff game since 2002, and their first division title since 1999, their first AFC South title, as they would host the Jets, as Brady didn't play in the wild card this round, so I had to go by what I think he would do. But seeing how the Jets played against the Chargers, I think Brady would do enough to hold on and get the win and get the Colts their first playoff win since 1995. And then, oh boy, we would get a Brady matchup in the playoffs as the Colts would visit the Patriots. In real life, the Patriots won this game 20-3 because Peyton completely was shut down in this game. The Colts offense couldn't do anything. Now, Brady didn't really do much either in this game either. This game was pretty much the Patriots defense doing everything. So, even though Peyton would be playing terrible this time around with the Patriots, it really wouldn't matter because Brady didn't do anything either, so it's not going to be negated. So the Patriots will win this game defensively once again. And then after beating the Steelers, it would be the Super Bowl that we got in real life. Patriots and Eagles. But of course, Peyton's playing. Now, the real life, the Patriots won this game in a defensive struggle, 24-21. Brady played okay, but now they have Peyton. And Peyton, for the rest of the year, outside of that Patriots game, by and large, cooked. So because of that, not only would the Patriots still win, I think they would spank the Eagles and win very convincingly. And with that, Patriots got title number 2, while still lacking their third title overall in this timeline. Peyton would now have his second title overall, as Brady is still waiting for his first. So after becoming the first team since the 97-98 Broncos to win back-to-back Super Bowls, the Patriots look determined to three-peat. Now, statistically, touchdown-wise, I think Peyton and Brady played about the same, but Peyton was better with turnovers overall. So I think he was the better QB this year. And the Patriots hope to do very good, because remember, they struggled in 2005, but thankfully with Peyton, the Patriots don't struggle as bad as they did in so instead of falling down to 10-6, they fall to 12-4. Meanwhile, Brady and the Colts, after falling short last year, hope to bounce back this year and make their Super Bowl run after building up that defense like they did in 2005. The team still, however, wasn't as good without Peyton. Peyton was much better than Brady overall. So the team actually goes 12-4 once again instead of going 14-2. And that actually would be a problem because in the updated 2005 stands, the Jaguars now have the number 1 seed as they got an extra victory off the Colts. As the Patriots, though, move up to the number 2 seed, the Broncos fall to the 3rd seed as the Steelers win the division this time around as the 4th seed. The Colts fall all the way down to the 5th seed, and the Bengals fall to the 6th seed. But we're going to still pay attention to the Colts right now, as they would have to visit the Steelers. They play each other in real-life divisional round when the Colts are at home and the Steelers won 21-18. But there's one thing the Colts will have an advantage this time around instead of with Peyton. They're going to have Brady's incredible wild card game where he had, like, I think 3 or 4 touchdowns. And that is going to make a major difference, as this time around, instead of losing to the Steelers, they go into Heinz Field and they beat the Steelers, which will then send them to the number 1 seed Jaguars in their 3rd match of the year. Now, of course, Brady struggled in the divisional round when he faced the Broncos and got his first playoff loss. But this time around, remember, he is playing the Jaguars. So in this situation, where there's a confliction between him playing bad against the Broncos in the real-life divisional round, but this time around facing the Jaguars in the playoffs, when he put up like 3 or 4 touchdowns on them, I think he would do that, especially with the Colts being the better team. So I think the Colts would beat the Jaguars. And the AFC Championship would be the Colts at the Patriots. Their second match in the playoffs, as Brady would make his first AFC Championship appearance, as Peyton and the Patriots are 1 game away from making 3 straight Super Bowls. Who would win this matchup? Well, Brady, in my prediction so far, would be cooking throughout most of the playoffs. And there's also another thing, too, the Colts have an advantage, too. At this point in the rivalry, the Colts were actually doing better against the Patriots this time around. They crushed them in the 2005 season game, 40-21. They beat them in 2006. And, of course, they beat them in the AFC Championship. And, of course, the 2008 and 2009 matchups as well, with the Patriots' only win this stretch being their 2007 game. So at this point in the rivalry, the Colts had their number against the Patriots this time around. And I think that would continue, as Brady and the Colts would go into Foxborough and beat the Patriots. to make their first Super Bowl appearance since 1970. So now the Super Bowl is the Colts and the Seahawks. As this will be an interesting game, the Seahawks are going to have their hands full. Yes, they beat the Colts earlier in the year, but the Colts were resting their stars, so it doesn't really mean much. Now they're going to have to go up against a team with an even better defense than the Steelers, I believe, which they faced in real life. And they're going to have to face Brady, who was better than Big Ben, who played horrible in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I think it's obvious who would get this. I'm picking the Colts to get this, and Brady and the Colts would get their first ring. Colts since 1970, and Brady finally would get his first title. So, it took Brady a long time, a lot longer, but he finally got his first ring. But he's had a long way to go to get to 3 of them, which he had in real life by now. And now we're into 2006. After falling just short of the three-peat, Peyton and the Patriots look to try and make it back to the Super Bowl. However, despite Peyton being the better QB, they actually kind of struggled this year in games where they needed him to play good like Brady did, and he didn't. So the Patriots actually regressed to 10-6. Meanwhile, for the Colts, after they got their first title, they looked to go for a repeat. Now, Brady was worse overall than Peyton, but in the end, it didn't matter, as they still went 12-4, just like they did in real life. And in the updated 2006 stands in the NFC really quickly, the Giants move up to the 5th seed, and the Packers now get into the playoffs as the 6th seed. Meanwhile, in the AFC, the Bills now make into the playoffs as the 6th seed, surprisingly. So we're going to start off in the wild card round, where the Colts host the Bills this time around. Peyton did not play good in this game whatsoever, but Brady did play better, and that will make the difference easily, as I think the Colts will beat the Bills. Then after that, the Colts will visit the Ravens. Now, this was a defensive struggle where both teams only scored field goals when the Colts won 15-6. Now, Peyton once again was horrendous in this game, yet it didn't seem to matter as they still won. Now, Brady didn't play good either when he played in the division round the next day against the Chargers, but he still threw 2 touchdowns. So, because of that, the Colts not only are going to still win, but they're going to dominate the Ravens even more in a bigger blowout, so the Colts would still win. Then we're going to go take a look at the Patriots with Peyton, as they host the Jets like they did in real life. Now, of course, like I said earlier, Peyton did not play good, but the Patriots won the game by 21 points, so I'm going to still say they're going to get this victory. After that, they will head to the number 1 seed Chargers. Now, of course, Patriots barely won this game and such, but they're going to have one major problem. Remember I said earlier about the Colts destroying the Ravens now since Brady had his 2 touchdowns? Yeah, Peyton in his game with the Ravens instead had 0 touchdowns and 2 picks. So, and the Patriots won the game by 3 points? Yeah, this time around with Peyton as the QB, the Patriots are going to lose this game instead of getting it. So the AFC Championship is now Colts at Chargers, as the Colts are trying to repeat 2 years after Peyton just did that. But they're going to have a tough task, as they're going to have to face a very strong Chargers team. And of course, Brady, remember, didn't play good this time around either against them. As this is a tough game to pick. Brady's playing, but the Chargers are going to have to face the Colts' elite defense too, which came out of nowhere. Man, this is a tough one. But I think in the end, I side with Brady's screw-ups. I think the Chargers would still get it. So after beating both Peyton and Brady, the Chargers visit the Bears in the Super Bowl, as both teams are trying to get their first titles in a long time, going up against the number 1 offense and defense. Now, of course, we saw how the Bears played against the Colts. Even though Peyton was a game manager, the Bears offense really couldn't do anything. And now they're going to go against the number 1 offense in the league, who still also had a really good defense too. Yeah, I think it's pretty much obvious who I would pick this. The Chargers would win to get their first title in 43 years. Then we're in 2007. After falling short the year before, Peyton and the Patriots look to do good. Now, of course, remember, this is the 2007 Patriots that went undefeated. Unfortunately, though, Brady this time around in his first big season was way better than Peyton this time around. And not having Brady is going to actually hurt the Patriots big time. As not only are they going to not go undefeated, they're actually going to go only 11-5. as Peyton was just nowhere near as explosive as Brady was that season. However, for the Colts, that's the exact opposite thing that happens. Now that they have Brady in his incredible season, they actually would go 14-2 with probably the best offense in the league and the #1 defense as well. They look like the best team in the entire season. Alright, in the updated 2007 standings in the AFC, the Colts are now the #1 seed, as the Patriots fall to the #2 seed, and the Browns make the playoffs as the 6th seed. So in the playoffs in the divisional round, we're going to start off with the Colts hosting the Jaguars. Brady, remember, they played the Jaguars in the division round against the Patriots, and that was a wild game, back and forth. Jaguars put up a good fight, but they just couldn't beat the Patriots in the end. Now they have to face the Colts with the #1 defense as well. It would probably be a hard-fought game, but I think the Colts in the end would still get the victory. Meanwhile, the defending champion Chargers would have to visit the Patriots, this time in the divisional round instead of the AFC Championship. As, remember, the Patriots won this game to make the Super Bowl. However, Brady played horrible in this game. And the only reason they managed to get the win, honestly, was because Phillip Rivers had an injury, and LT didn't really do anything either. I think he got injured as well. So the Patriots kind of got bailed out in this game. However, they have Peyton now, so they're going to have a much better QB, and they're going to win it this time around, obviously. Which sets up the AFC Championship. The Patriots now visiting the Colts, as the third time Peyton and Brady play each other in the playoffs. As this would be an interesting game. Brady would struggle, but the Colts were just such a better team and all that, that I think, even with Peyton, I think the Patriots would actually lose still, as the Colts would make it back to the Super Bowl. So now Super Bowl 42 is the Giants and the Colts, as this would be an interesting game. The Colts are going to be a harder fought defensive game too, since their defense was better than the Patriots, but they have one major flaw, and this time around, it's Brady. As remember, Brady was pretty much shut down that entire game, really couldn't do anything, and that Giants defense had his number, so he's got to face it once again. Even with the better defense and a potentially better O-line, I think the Giants still would get their number and beat the Colts to get their first title in 17 years, as Brady is still waiting for title number 3. Alright, now we're in 2008, the year of a major change, of course, since Brady would be injured. Now, of course, Peyton is the starter, nothing happens to him, although he was struggling at first, but overall, he did play better than Matt Castle. So with that, the Patriots would improve as they go 12-4, but the Colts, oh boy, with Brady going down, they were pretty much done for the year, as whoever their backup was, Jim Sorgi was it? They wouldn't do anything this year, as they would regress to 6-10 in their first losing season since all the way back in 1998, for crying out loud. So in the updated 2008 standings, the Patriots move up to the 3rd seed as they make the playoffs this time around. The Ravens move up to the 5th seed, and the Dolphins fall to the 6th seed. So Peyton and the Patriots will start off hosting the Dolphins in the wild card round. The Dolphins, of course, imploded in this game when they played the Ravens, and now they have to face the better QB too. Yeah, the Patriots will get this victory, which then sets them up in a snow game against the Steelers, who had the #1 defense in the league, and they already beat the Patriots earlier in the year. Peyton will have a hard time facing that #1 defense, and seeing how the Steelers defense played that year in the playoffs, yeah, I think the Steelers would hold on to win, and nothing will change in the Super Bowl. So now we're in 2009. After not making as far in the playoffs they hoped to, Peyton and the Patriots, in a weird thing, statistically they were about the same stats-wise. But in the games where Peyton needed to play to do good, he did show up where Brady didn't, and because of that, the Patriots actually improved to 13-3. Meanwhile, for the Colts with Brady, after his injury, he comes back. He plays good, but the problem with Brady this time around is Peyton was the comeback player in the season. Most of the Colts games that year were comebacks, and Brady just was not that clutch this time around, and that's going to really hurt the Colts. Instead of going 14-2, they would only improve to 9-7. So in the updated 2009 standings, the AFC, the Patriots have the number 1 seed, as the Texans win the AFC South as their deferred seed, and the Colts fall to the 5th seed. So we start off in the wild card round as the Colts visit the Bengals. Unfortunately for the Colts, remember, Brady in that wild card game against the Ravens, he completely and utterly imploded in like one of the worst playoff games he ever played in, and that's going to hurt the Colts as the Bengals this time around are going to win it. Speaking of that game, the next division round game would be the Ravens visiting the Patriots in the division round instead of the wild card round. Now, the real-life Ravens destroyed the Patriots 33-14 after Brady just, like I said, completely and utterly imploded in the first quarter as the Ravens got a 24-0 lead just like that. Now, unfortunately for the Ravens, they're facing Peyton, who does not completely implode like Brady did. And that's going to make a big difference as the Ravens do not get their massive 24-0 lead earlier on, and the Patriots this time around are going to get the victory. And now the AFC Championship would be the Patriots hosting the Chargers. This would be an interesting game, but of course Peyton was being clutch during the playoffs pretty much that year. And remember the Chargers did struggle against the Jets in the playoffs too. So a lot of concerns for the Chargers going into this game, and I think it's going to cost them, as I think the Patriots would get the win. So the Super Bowl is now the Saints and the Patriots, as Peyton is still here. The Patriots making their first title appearance since 2004, their third title overall, as they're trying to get their third title overall very late. But they're going to have to go up against a very, very, very difficult challenge, the Saints. We all know how Peyton played in the Super Bowl. He played very good until that pick 6 happened, but it's more than just that. The Patriots, of course, got completely obliterated by the Saints earlier in the year. And who knows if necessarily the Patriots are better than the Colts in this game either. So if anything, I think the Saints are going to win no matter what. If anything, they might even beat them even worse depending on how the Patriots played. So I'm picking the Saints to still get this victory. After falling short of the Super Bowl in 2010, the Patriots tried to make a comeback. Unfortunately, remember, Peyton struggled this year, and he was nowhere near as good as MVP Brady was this year. And that's going to hurt the Patriots as they end up only going 11-5, a big regression from the year before. Meanwhile, with Brady having his MVP season, the Colts have a really good year as they go 12-4. So in the updated 2010 standings in the AFC, the Steelers are now the number 1 seed as the Colts move up to the number 2 seed. The Patriots fall to the 3rd seed. So the wildcard round would start with the Jets visiting the Patriots. As remember, Peyton, this was his last game as a Colt, and he played the Jets. He put up a good game, but in the end the Jets held on in a low-scoring game to win 17-16. And of course, remember, the next week, the Jets would beat the Patriots. So it's going to be tough for the Peyton-led Patriots this time around, and just like in the real-life game, I think the Jets would have their number both times, as the Jets would still win it in the end. Meanwhile, for the Colts, they will host the Ravens once again in the playoffs in the divisional round, as Brady, remember, lost to the Jets in his real-life divisional round. He put up a good fight, but it was just too much for them. Now he's got to face a tough team in the Ravens defense, who really do put up a good fight against the Patriots, and on Brady normally. It would be a hard-fought game, and the Ravens, of course, in real life, played the Steelers that week. Pretty similar results to, I think, how Brady did as Big Ben did. But I think in this case, the Colts would get the victory to move on to the AFC Championship. And their first AFC Championship appearance since 2006, they would visit the Steelers against, once again, the number 1 defense in the league and Big Ben and all that. It's going to be tough, because remember, too, the Colts are still struggling, too. With Peyton, even with Brady here, they're going to struggle in this game and such. And I think, once again, the Steelers would get their number and win. And with that, the outcome of the Super Bowl remains the same. And now we're in 2011. And now we're at the part where Peyton has to suffer the season-ending injury. As, of course, he doesn't play at all in 2011, and with him gone, the Patriots, with their non-defense that happened in 2011, the Patriots would completely bomb out as they would go 4-12 in their first losing season since 1995. But things aren't necessarily rosy with the Colts either. While on the one hand, yes, they have Brady and he had a really good 2011 season, the Colts still were not a good team overall, even with him there. They have a lot of problems. There's a reason why they went 2-14 without Peyton. And even Brady is not going to save them too much, as the Colts in the end regress to 10-6. So in the updated standings for 2011 in the NFC really quickly, the Eagles would get the 4th seed as the Giants miss out on the playoffs, but in the AFC things really change. As the Ravens are now the number 1 seed, the Colts make the playoffs despite their 10-6 record, they get the number 2 seed surprisingly. As the Broncos move up to the 3rd seed, the Jets make the playoffs as the 4th seed, and the Chargers making it the playoffs as the 6th seed. And now we get to the playoffs in the divisional round as the Colts host the Tim Tebow-led Broncos. And of course, we saw what happened to the Broncos when they played the Patriots. Brady's going to cook them, even with the Colts struggle, and yeah, the Colts are going to make the AFC Championship. And for the 3rd year in a row, the Colts will play the Ravens in the playoffs, this time the AFC Championship. As Brady did not play good in the AFC Championship that year, but got bailed out at the end and managed to pull off a big comeback to beat the Ravens this one. Unfortunately though, he's going to be on the road, and more importantly, the Colts just were not as good of a team as the Patriots were. And that's going to hurt them, as I think the Ravens this time around would get the victory. And with the Giants not making the playoffs, the Super Bowl now is the Packers and the Ravens. One of the league's best defenses against the number 1 offense and one of the best offenses of all time. I have a really tough time thinking who I would think would win this game. The Ravens have a really good defense. They could shut down the Packers' offense just like the Giants did. But the Packers' offense was just so explosive that I really have a hard time saying no to them. So I thought about this game for a while, and I came to the conclusion I think the Packers would get this win. And with 4 years left, we now get to one of the most very interesting and important parts of this theory. What happens with Peyton now? As we all know, after the 2011 season with the Colts having the number 1 overall pick, they let Peyton go. He would go on to sign with the Broncos, and they would draft Andrew Luck and all that. And Peyton would play the rest of his career with the Broncos. But this is not the Colts now. He's with the Patriots. So what would happen this timeline? Since this never happened, I have to kind of like give my idea of what I think would happen maybe. So of course, Robert Kraft, the Patriots owner, didn't say he would keep Peyton if they won a 3rd game like Robert Irsay did with the Colts. If they won an extra game, they would have kept Peyton if they didn't have the number 1 overall pick. And the thing is with the Patriots at 4-12, based upon how the rest of the season went for the other teams, the Patriots, best case scenario, they would have the 3rd overall pick. Worst case, they would get the 6th overall pick. They're somewhere between 3rd to 6th before trades happen. So there's no guarantee that they would let him go. So because of that, I decided no. The Patriots will not let Peyton go. They're going to keep him and try to keep winning titles with him. So this opens up a whole lot of stuff. First off, what do the Broncos do since they're not going to get Peyton? Well, I'm going to say they're going to stick with their original theory, my idea, and that is they keep Tim Tebow. I mean, what else do they really have? But this also opens up another thing too, since Brady is with the Colts, and they're not going to get rid of him, of course, right now. So, where's Andrew Luck going to go? He can't go to the Colts, not just since Brady's there, but they don't have the number 1 overall pick. So, again, I took a look at the draft order, and I decided the Redskins, of course, would have the number 1 overall pick in this timeline, so they would take Andrew Luck, which is a classic theory of mine, and the Browns would trade up to take the number 2 pick from the Rams, so they now take RG3. A classic theory I would always do. Andrew Luck's a Redskin, and RG3's a Brown. So because of this, now we have to cover the Redskins and the Browns coming up the next few years. Oh boy. So let's continue on. So with Peyton back and healthy and having one of his best seasons in years, the Patriots made a massive, and I mean massive turnaround with one of the best offenses in the league and their defense playing really good as well, the Patriots move up massively in the AFC as they go an unbelievable 15-1. Then after that, the Colts, now with Brady, despite, the funny thing is, when I did this theory, I was expecting the Colts would be much better with Brady and potentially challenge the number 1 seed, but something weird happened. Brady somehow was less clutch than Andrew Luck, and he played worse in games that the Colts needed to win with Luck. So despite having the vastly better QB, the Colts actually do worse as they actually only improve. No, not only do they not improve, they regress to 8-8. My goodness. I was stunned when I did this theory, figuring it out. So now with the Redskins now, with Andrew Luck, I've done this theory before with him as a Redskin, and the theory always resolves around this. RG3 was the better QB, so the Redskins won't do as good with Andrew Luck. They would improve, but instead of going 10-6, they would only go 7-9. Meanwhile, for the RG3-led Browns, like I've always said before, the team would have a massive turnaround instead of having Brandon Weeden. They would do much better, but the Browns were so terrible it's not going to amount too much, as they instead only improved to 7-9. And of course, the Broncos with Tebow would stay the same 8-8 record. So in the updated playoff stands, in the NFC, we're going to start off with, the Packers are now the number 1 seed as the Falcons fall to the number 2 seed. The 49ers fall to the number 3rd seed. The Giants make the playoffs as the 4th seed. The Vikings move up to the 5th seed. And the Seahawks fall down to the 6th seed. Meanwhile, on the AFC side, the Patriots now have the number 1 seed as the Texans move up to the 2nd seed. The Ravens move up to the 3rd seed. The Chargers make the playoffs as the 4th seed. The Bengals move up to the 5th seed. And the Colts fall down to the 6th seed. At 8-8, they still make the playoffs. And for the 4th year in a row, the Colts and Ravens will play each other. The Ravens in real life won this game like 24-9 or something like that. Now the Colts would have the better quarterback in Brady, but knowing how Brady plays against the Ravens, like I said before, I think it wouldn't really make much of a difference, and I think the Ravens still would win. After that, we focus on Peyton and the Patriots, as they would host the Chargers in the divisional round. Peyton had a really good game, even with the pick 6 he threw against the Ravens, and I think they would beat the Chargers, where they would play the Texans in the AFC Championship, where I think, just like in real life, they would make quick work of them. So Super Bowl 47 is now the Patriots facing the 49ers in their first appearance since 2009, and the 49ers, remember, beat the Patriots earlier in the year. They kind of spanked them too. This would be kind of an interesting game, seeing how Peyton would do against the 49ers, since we also saw what the Ravens did against them too. This is a tough one, because I kind of keep going back and forth. Would the Patriots win, especially with Peyton, or would the 49ers get in a rematch and all that? I went back and forth, and all that. And I decided I trust the 49ers' explosiveness more, so I'm going to pick the 49ers still to get the win. So now we're in 2013. After falling short of the Super Bowl, Peyton and the Patriots would have one of the greatest offenses ever, as Peyton would have his incredible season despite having no talent that year the Patriots had in 2013. The Patriots would explode onto the scene, although despite that, they don't do as good as they did last year, as they only go 14-2, but they look terrifyingly good in the playoffs. Meanwhile, for the Colts with Brady, he would have his struggles too, as he didn't have his weapons, remember, in real life that year. He would struggle, and you could potentially make the argument that Andrew Luck might have actually been better than Brady that year, potentially. It's that close. And because of that, the Colts once again struggle, as they only improve to 10-6. Then we take a look at the Andrew Luck-led Redskins. He would play better, but remember, the Redskins were pretty bad that year, even though they had a lot of close losses. So despite Luck's success, the Redskins would actually regress this year, as they would go 6-10. Meanwhile, the Browns, led with RG3, he would have his horrible year, and they would regress to 3-13. Meanwhile, the Tebow-led Broncos go 8-8 once again. So in the updated playoff stands in the NFC really quickly, the Cowboys would win the division as the 3rd seed. Meanwhile, in the AFC, the Patriots now have the number 1 seed, as the Chiefs move up to number 2 seed as they win the division this time around. And the Chargers move up to the 5th seed, and the Dolphins will make the playoffs as the 6th seed. Starting off in the wild card round, where the Colts played the Chargers in their first home game since 2011. Of course, remember, the Colts had that wild, incredible comeback game against the Chiefs. We were down 38-10, I think it was, and they ended up winning 45-44. What a wild game that was. Now, of course, the Chargers, destroyed the Bengals as well that week. But unfortunately, I don't think Peyton's going to play as bad as Andy Dalton did that game, so they're not going to get all those turnovers that really helped them out. And the Colts are still going to probably score a lot of points with Brady, so I think the Colts in the end would win it. And then after that, for the 4th time in this theory, the Colts will play the Patriots in the playoffs, as they are going to go at, once again, Peyton and Brady. Now, real life, the Andrew Luck-led Colts got spanked by the Patriots 43-22, but Brady didn't do anything in that game. It was all LeGarrette Blount and the Patriots running game that did all the work, as they scored 6 touchdowns on the ground. So, Peyton, of course, played good in this game, and Brady did nothing. But in the end, it doesn't really matter what Peyton did. The 6 rushing touchdowns that the Patriots got is going to make the difference, as, once again, the Patriots are going to destroy the Colts and move on to the AFC Championship, where in the AFC Championship, they'll play the Chiefs, who had the #1 overall pick in the draft, and now here they are 1 game away from the Super Bowl. Very tough team, but I think Peyton who had their number that year too, he beat them both times, I think the Patriots would get the win to make it back to the Super Bowl, where the Patriots are now going to face the Seahawks. As, oh boy, what a matchup this is. This would be, of course, the matchup we almost had too in real life, 1 year early. Now, remember earlier in the theory when I said the Colts, I picked the Giants would still beat the Colts because Brady would have his struggles? Well, that's going to be the reverse here, as the Peyton, of course, is still going to be facing the Seahawks. And they are going to completely implode, like I think like the Broncos did, plus the Broncos were the better team than the Patriots. So yeah, the Seahawks, I think, would win by an even bigger margin than this time around. So the Seahawks, I think, would still win that game. Like, really, Peyton, there was no way Peyton was going to win this game. Before the season begins, we actually have a draft change, as the Broncos would give up on Tebow. So because of that, and since the Browns have RG3, the Broncos now desperately draft Johnny Manziel to hopefully be the future. So now we're in 2014, as the Patriots have now lost 2 straight Super Bowls, including 3 overall now with Peyton, as they're still trying to get their 3rd title with him. And to begin the year, the Patriots cook, which is needed because remember, they struggled early on the year. Peyton would make sure that doesn't happen. However, near the end of the year is when Peyton started his decline, and that really did hurt the Patriots at the end, as they would end up regressing to 11-5. Meanwhile, for the Colts with Brady, he would have a struggle early on in the year, but he would play pretty good at the end. Although, not sure statistically if he was necessarily better than Luck, because Luck had one of his best seasons ever. But they still played really good, and the Colts would go 12-4. And the Broncos, of course, with Manziel as their QB, would actually go 8-8. Just thanks to their rushing offense and their defense helping them, but definitely going to be struggling, especially with Peyton not there. The Redskins, meanwhile, would have a very good year with Andrew Luck, as with his leadership, the team improved to 9-7, a very competitive NFC. The Browns, meanwhile, with RG3 still struggle as they only improved to 6-10. And the updated 2014 standings in the AFC, the Colts move up to the #1 seed as the Patriots fall to the #2 seed. The Bengals win the AFC North as they move up to the 3rd seed. The Chiefs now win the AFC West as they're the 4th seed. The Steelers fell down to the 5th seed, and the Chargers make the playoffs as the 6th seed. After beating the Bengals, the Chargers would now have to visit the #1 seed Brady-led Colts, and this would be a Brady had to pull off that comeback multiple times against the Ravens, and they barely won that game in the end. The Chargers, I think, are going to put up a big fight too, but I think the Colts, would get the win. The next day, however, the Chiefs would visit the Patriots, and of course, the Chiefs would have their troubles, but the biggest problem would be for the Patriots, and that is Peyton Manning completely imploding in this game, as he struggled throughout. and that would hurt them big time once again, as the Chiefs would end up beating the Patriots. And for the first time since 2011, the Colts are in the AFC Championship, as they would host the Chiefs. As Brady would put up a good fight, the Chiefs would try their best, but I think the Colts with Brady is going to be more than enough, as the Colts will beat the Chiefs. And for the first time since 2007, the Colts are in the Super Bowl in Glendale once again, where this time they have to face the defending champion Seahawks. What a game this would be! And I think it by and large would go exactly how it did in real life with the Patriots in the Colts' place, as Brady put up a really good game, and the Colts, in the end, would hold on to stop the Seahawks from winning, to repeat. And the Colts, for the first time since 2005, are champions, as Brady would finally get his second title when he would have had his fourth by now, and the Colts would get their second title. And now we're into the final season, as we take a look at the Patriots in Peyton's final year. And as we all know in real life, Peyton was horrible in 2015. But he got bailed out because the Broncos' defense was one of the best in the league, if one of the best ever, and they somehow won a Super Bowl despite his horrible performance. Now, unfortunately, he's on the Patriots. And yes, the Patriots have a very good defense too, but that defense was nowhere near enough explosiveness as the Broncos have to help them. So because of that, and Peyton's horrible season, the Patriots actually regress to 7-9, their first losing season since Peyton's injury 2011 season. For the Colts, meanwhile, Brady gets lucky because he avoids the Deflategate suspension, at least for a year, and he picks up right off as the team tries to defend their title. Brady plays very good, but remember, the Colts struggled in 2015. Luck was injured, he played bad, the team was just like all over the place, inconsistent. But with Brady having a very good year and having a steady hand, the Colts improve still, as they end up finishing 11-5. Meanwhile, the Broncos, of course, they still have their elite defense, and they have Johnny Football as their QB. And honestly, he was better than Peyton despite the limited time he played. So the Broncos still would be pretty good, as they would go 10-6. The Redskins, meanwhile, would have a horrible start to the year because of Andrew Luck's injury. But thankfully, they still drafted Kirk Cousins. So once Luck goes down, Kirk Cousins comes up, and he has a really good end of the year, as the Redskins still finished 9-7. And the Browns, of course, have RG3, who didn't play at all in 2015, so I gotta go based upon his stats, but in the end it doesn't matter, as they would once again finish real life 3-13 again. So in the updated 2015 standings, in the AFC, it's the Bengals now with the number 1 seed, as the Chiefs move up to the number 2 seed, the Colts make the playoffs as the 3rd seed, the Jets make the playoffs as the 4th seed, the Steelers move up to the 5th seed, and the Broncos fall all the way down to the 6th seed. So we start off in the wild card round, as the Colts would host the Broncos, as Brady would go up against that defense that terrified him throughout the year, as he would have a tough task against that Broncos defense, but he would have one major benefit, as he would not have to face Peyton in his last really good last good game. He would have Johnny Football instead. And remember, in the AFC Championship, the Patriots almost beat the Broncos, despite Brady playing horrible. But now they're going to have no really good Peyton Manning. They have Johnny Football. I think that's going to make a difference. So despite Brady's struggle, I think the Colts would beat the Broncos still. The Colts then have to visit the Chiefs, as Brady, of course, played the Chiefs that year in the division round as the Patriots. But of course, now they're on the road. Brady kind of struggled against the Chiefs some points during his time, except this 2015 game. But the Colts, remember, are not as good as they were, as the Patriots were. And I think that's going to come back to bite them, as I think the Chiefs, with that incredible win streak they had near the end of the year, keep it going to move on to the AFC Championship. Where in the AFC Championship, the Chiefs visit the Bengals. As of course, remember, the Bengals had injured Andy Dalton. He might or might not, it's up in the air if he would have played in the divisional round if the Bengals did beat the Steelers. It really was up in the air. And of course, I still had them beating the Jets. So again, I think Dalton would be healthy by this time, but would he be effective still? But of course, another thing too is, even though the Bengals beat the Chiefs in this real life season, the Chiefs, remember, were on a roll. Yeah, they start off 1-5. Then they won all the remaining games, destroyed the Texans, put up a good fight against the Patriots. Now, in this timeline, they're keeping that momentum going, and they're playing the Bengals. I think the Chiefs would once again keep that momentum going, and I think they would beat them. And our final Super Bowl would now be the Chiefs and the Panthers. Now, of course, while their defense isn't elite like the Broncos was, and no Von Miller here, the Chiefs still are a very good team. Their defense played very good, and we saw what happened to the Panthers when they played a really good defense. I think the Chiefs would win and get their first title in 46 years. And with that, Peyton would retire, and that wraps up this video. I might consider continuing this on in a future video when Brady still played with the Colts, but the main point of this theory is done, so we're going to stop it right here. So now we got to calculate. Who did better in this timeline? Did Peyton do better with the Patriots? Did Brady do better with the Colts? Did the teams do better or not? We're going to find out. So I wrote down all the stats and all that. So the top part is our actual timeline of 2015. So in this timeline, with Peyton with the Colts went 125-51 in the regular season. They went 9-10 in the playoffs, and they went 1-1 in the Super Bowl. Now, of course, remember, he played his last 4 years with the Broncos, so his stats, him individually, is going to be different, as he would go 117-63, 14-13 playoff record, and 2-2 in the Super Bowl. With the Patriots with Brady, they went 172-53, they went 22-9 in the playoffs, and 4-2 in the Super Bowl, as Brady's stats are, of course, the same as he played his entire career with the Patriots in this timeline. Now, how do they do in the alternate theory now? So, with Brady, the Colts went 157-84. So, they won more games, but they lost a lot more games. Now, of course, to be fair, Brady played his entire career with the Colts in this timeline, whereas Peyton did, so it is influenced a lot by that. The Colts, however, went 18-10 in the playoffs. They lost the same amount of games, but they doubled their wins. And they went 2-1 in the Super Bowl. So that means they went to 3 Super Bowls instead of 2, and they won a second one, whereas Peyton only won 1. Now, the Patriots, meanwhile, with Peyton, they would go 168-67. So Peyton's record, their record was slightly worse with Peyton. They went 17-11, so they won less games and they lost more games, so the record's worse in the playoffs. And they went 2-3 in the Super Bowl, so that means they made 5 Super Bowls instead of 6 in real life. And they only won 2 instead of 4, and they lost an extra and such. So, with these stats in mind, what does this mean? Well, in a very weird twist of fate, I think it's mixed. It depends on what you look at. When it comes to players, yes, Peyton was better with the Patriots. After all, he did better in the regular season, although, actually, no, his regular season stats are slightly worse. He did better in the playoffs. He made more Super Bowls, and he did win 2 Super Bowls, so you can depend on how you see he did better or worse, or the same. Brady, however, with the Colts, he did do worse. He had a worse winning percentage. He won less playoff games. He lost 1 more as well, and he did worse in the Super Bowls. He lost less, but he made half of them, and he only won 2 instead of 4 in our timeline. So Peyton overall seemed better than Brady with their teams flipped. But when you look at the teams, it's a different story. With Brady, the Colts were better. Their win percentage might have been worse overall because Brady lost more games since he played more games than Peyton did. But he doubled their win total. And he won them an extra Super Bowl, and they made an extra Super Bowl appearance. 3-2 and then 2-1. Whereas Patriots with Peyton, they did do worse. They won a few less games. They lost a couple more games. Their playoff record is worse. And they made 1 less Super Bowl. They won 2 less Super Bowls, and they lost another Super Bowl extra too. So it's a mix of Peyton did better, Brady did worse, but the Colts did better and the Patriots did worse. So, the way you look at it, it's both ways. Yes, Peyton was better with the Patriots than Brady would be with the Colts, but the Colts would have been better with Brady than the Patriots would have been with Peyton. It's very odd. It goes both ways. So, I guess that answers the question. Yes, Peyton was a better Patriot than Brady would be a better Colt, but the Colts would have been better with him than Peyton would have been with the Patriots. What a wild theory this is. This required so much work, over a year and a half of work, and it's finally done. And it was so much fun. But hey, it's just a theory. An NFL theory. Thank you for watching. And thank you all for waiting over a year and a half for this theory to be done. So much delays, so much slacking. It's finally done after an hour-long too. I did this all in one night, over 2 hours of work. So of course, like I said, I do want to continue this theory with Brady being the Colts QB for 2016 to 2022. I look forward to doing that, but I gotta make the slides and all that because I haven't done that yet, and I had to remake this theory once already. I have another big theory coming up. However, I need to remake that, and I haven't touched that in a couple months, and I need to finish it because I got like 9 seasons left to go and such. So maybe if I'm in the mood, maybe I'll try and get some of the shorter theories done, although I've pretty much kind of spent a bunch of them, so I don't know what's left to cover. But we'll see. Alright, hope you all enjoyed, and see you for the next NFL theory in the future.